Hey guys, it's Esme from esmewest.com and Healing from the Heart Holistic Center. I'm a little bit late and I'm not even sure if this is going out live or not. YouTube and I had a couple of little disagreements. Like, I'm sure it's user error, but the one that I had posted the link for, I couldn't seem to access the live feed to get it started. So this is a whole different live feed. Anyway, I wanted to how is everybody, by the way? I had an awesome day. The weather in Vermont is finally spectacular, sunny, warm, no rain. It's kind of amazing. So I hope wherever you are, you're enjoying similar weather for as long as it lasts. Anyway, I wanted to spend a few minutes with you this evening chatting about, because I'm kind of on this thing in my meditation and processing thoughts, the use of words and language to other people, but especially to ourselves. Our self-talk keeps coming up over and over again, and speaking authentically and speaking your truth. So the last time we were together, we've talked about the power of I am, gratitude and appreciation. This evening, I'd like to talk to you about two words, again, kind of little words with huge impact. And I have come to the place where I actually consider them curse words. If I catch myself using them, I pull myself up short, because I'm really trying to clean up my language so that I am sure that I'm speaking from a place of love, that I'm speaking from a place of truth and authenticity, that I am speaking from a place of kindness, and not speaking from a place of self-judgment, self-criticism, self-loathing, all of those other things. So the two words that I want to talk about, those horrible curse words, are probably not what you're thinking. The two words are can't and should, or shouldn't, either way. Should not, shouldn't are words that I seldom use anymore, because whether I'm using them to myself or whether I'm speaking to another person, there is a judgment involved. Who am I to be telling another person what they should or should not do? The very use of the word implies judgment. I looked it up again to find out the dictionary definition. Should is used to indicate obligation, duty, or correctness, typically when criticizing others. Did you get that? Should is used to indicate obligation, duty, or correctness, typically when criticizing others. So there is definitely judgment involved there. You should have gotten up early. You shouldn't have taken that route. You shouldn't have. And even though it's, it's a really small, it's such an incremental part of speech. It's really tiny, but encased in those few letters, in that one little word, there is judgment. When you're speaking to someone else, they feel criticized. They didn't do something right. They could have done better. They failed to meet your expectations or someone else's expectations. So I have come to see over the past year or so that every time I use the word should in relation to another person, I'm making a judgment against that person. And that is not my place. Everyone is on their own path. Everyone has their own way of doing things. Everyone is able to make these decisions themselves without my wagging a critical finger or using critical words such as should or shouldn't to heap on judgment and self-judgment later. I know from my own experience, when someone says to me, well, you should have done this, or you should have done this differently, or you shouldn't have done that, Even if I don't feel it right in the moment, when I get to thinking about it later, then comes the self-judgment and the self-criticism. Well, they're probably right. I should have gotten up earlier, and or I shouldn't have taken that route, or I shouldn't have, you know, pulled out two or three $100 bills. And not that I'm saying that these things aren't valid, but now I'm questioning myself. Now I'm beating myself up. Now I'm judging myself. And of course, there's always the inner critic and the inner judge and the inner perfectionist that's right there to second emotion. Yep, you should have done things differently. You shouldn't have done that. You should have done this. Which brings me to using words against ourselves. Feeling as I do that the word should invokes or implies judgment of some kind on some level, there's an opportunity for me to feel badly, to exercise emotions that are less than loving toward myself. So I'm trying really, really, really hard to weed that word out of my language as much as possible. There are few, I like one of the dictionaries that I looked up today had this whole list of possible uses of the word should, and some of them were valid points. You should cross at the crosswalk rather than jaywalking. Okay, there's a valid point, but still the inherent judgment in the word should. It would be optimal. It's legal to cross at the crosswalk. It would be less dangerous to cross at the crosswalk. Um, all of those phrases imply no judgment, that someone made an error in judgment or wasn't thinking clearly or didn't perform to your standards or the world standards or whatever. I am finding that cleaning up your language is definitely a task, a challenge. I mean, I'm definitely up for it. I'm tired of doing things by rote just because of programming, just because that's the way I was taught, my parents were taught, my parents before them were taught. For me, I feel like it's time to do something different. I feel like it's time to be more loving. I feel like it's time to be kinder. I feel like it's definitely time to be less judgmental. So for me, I'm really, really making every effort to weed the words should and shouldn't out of my vocabulary, because we have hundreds of thousands of words that we could use in place of that imply no judgment whatsoever. So if that resonates with you, you might want to listen to the way you speak, or pay attention to how frequently others use the word toward you, and see what kind of emotions you feel in your body when you hear that. The other word is, and I believe I posted a meme about this in the Highest Five Tribe not that long ago. The other word is can't. Can't. Cannot. In actuality, there is no such thing as cannot or can't. I can't climb that mountain. I can't walk anymore. I can't. The word can't eliminates all possibility of change, of improvement, of innovation. I mean, the list could go on and on. And the funny thing is about can't, very often it's used as a very tiny word to escape being authentic. Perhaps someone wants you to do something, or has asked you to do something, or do a favor, or go someplace, or be in a certain place. For a lot of us, our rote response is, oh, well, I can't because I have other commitments. I can't do that at 3 o'clock. You get the idea. When in reality, what we really mean is, I don't want to. I don't want to. But it's so hard for us sometimes to be authentic and speak our truth from our heart for fear of judgment, for fear of loss of acceptance, lack of love, all of those things that we've been programmed to worry about. So very often, and I used to do the same thing, I would use the word can't, meaning it's not possible. Let's see, I looked that one up too. Can is to be able to or to be permitted to. Cannot is part of the negative clause or the contraction to form can't or cannot. So it's the negative of can, which seems obvious. And it's funny that I was thinking about that, how, language develops and comes around, and it's become a colloquialism to say, oh my gosh, that was the best concert I ever saw. Not. So we've come back to using that word to define or to tag on negativity to something that first came out as a positive statement. Anyway, back to the word can't. I have found when I listen to other people and when I listen to my own language, very seldom, very, very seldom is that word the authentic truth. It's usually covering up I don't want to, or I don't feel like it, or that doesn't work for me, or it's not optimal for me, or I'm doing something else, or I'd rather not. Can't, I cannot means that we are completely incapable of, that there's no possibility that we could perform such a task or be in that place or whatever. And that is very, very rarely the truth. So it's been a long, hard climb for me to learn to speak authentically, to speak my truth from my heart and not use little catchphrases and not use convenient words to mask what I'm really feeling. Now, if someone says, can you, will you, I don't say I can't when what I really mean is I don't want to. At an Abraham conference recently, Abraham did a wonderful little piece on, not wanting to do something or it not being optimal for us personally in that moment. And Abraham gave the example if someone has asked you to do something. Now, very often when people ask us to do things or want us to do something or whatever, it's not that we can't, it's that it just isn't, the thought of doing it doesn't feel good vibrationally to us right now. So Abraham said to the collected audience, when someone asks you to do something, rather than say, I can't, when really you can, and maybe if they'd asked at a different time, you'd be more than happy to. A more correct and honest response would be to say something along the line, something along the lines of, that's a very reasonable request that you made of me, and I would love or like to be able to honor that request and do that for you. But right now is not the best time for me to do that. Or it's not, you might not have this entire dialogue with someone, but it's not a good feeling thought for me right now. Gosh, I could think of so many instances where that's the case, where someone asks us to do something. And if they'd have asked 3 hours later, or maybe the following week or the next day, sure, not a problem. But right now, it doesn't work for us. And rather than say that, we say, I can't. So in an effort to become more authentic, speak from my heart and from my inner being as authentically as I can, I am also trying to weed that word out of my vocabulary, because in reality, there is nothing that we can't do. I don't care what the situation. I can't afford to pay that bill. Probably not the truth. You might not have the money in your hand right now, but that doesn't mean the money isn't coming tomorrow or the next day. So my point in saying all of this is just to make myself, and to make, if it resonates with you, to make you aware of how many words we have come to use that really are not the truth. They're not speaking from our authentic self. The word can't immediately shuts down everything that the universe wants to bless us with, wants to bring into our lives. When we say I can't, we become a vibrational match for the negativity of can not. So it has the potential to shut that universal flow down. I cannot, rather than saying it isn't possible at this moment in time, but I know that it is possible because I firmly believe that all things are possible, that everything is possible. Anything that we want to do, be, or have by virtue of the law of attraction, when we are a vibrational match for it, can be accomplished. I don't care if it's material, if it's physical well-being and health, if it's success related, anything that we want to do, be, or have that we are a vibrational match for can be ours. So I'm struggling to find one instance, really, where the word can't, I cannot, the universe cannot, he, she, they cannot, would be applicable. Knowing that when we're a vibrational match for the things that we desire, they flow easily into our lives. They flow effortlessly into our lives. As long as we're not offering resistance and resisting the things that we actually say that we desire, they're going to come. They are going to come on all levels. So that's my little rant for tonight. I've been spending a lot of time looking at my language, like really, dissecting where in my life I've been dishonest and inauthentic, when it would have been just as easy to choose other words that expressed honestly and authentically what I was feeling and what I really meant. And like I said, I really am trying hard not to use the word shouldn't, should have, and should when talking to other people and with my own inner dialogue as well, because it's certainly not ever up to me to judge another human being, another soul, because I don't know their path. I don't know what that soul came here to do. And I really am working hard to get away from self-judgment, judging myself, and running around with, I was talking to a friend earlier today, talking about the inner itty bitty shitty committee, which is made up of the judge, the perfectionist, and the inner critic. But that's a whole nother topic. So we'll just leave it for right now. The 2 curse words, to me personally, if it resonates with you, maybe give it some thought, meditate on it. Can't doesn't exist. It does not exist. And should or shouldn't or should have implies judgment and duty and obligation, typically when criticizing another. Thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed rest of the day or evening, depending on what time you're watching this. And I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Namaste.